Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron, and I am back with another exciting Battlytics analysis. Tonight we're going to be looking at a little guy, a little 35-tonner from the Inner Sphere known as the Firebee. So this one lovingly earned its name in the Capellan Confederation, where it served loyally as a mech called Weapon Armed Mech Alpha, or WAM-A. And then they loaded it down to the gills with Inferno missiles, and then the second variation was called Fire B instead of Wham A. I don't know. And then they're like, oh, Fire B. Very clever. But it's got a cool name. It's got a very cool design, by the way. If you have not seen it, it is in the new Proliferation Cycle pack that is available, has been available for some time. So very, very cool. Really do like the design. So anyway, so this guy, it's 35 tons, 808 battle value. So not bad right out of the gate there in terms of price tag. Was produced in 2524. This is an original gangster, an OG mech. And then it just sort of disappears off MUL after like 2900s or so. It just sort of disappears, but who knows? In terms of movement, it can move 5'8". It's sort of equivalent to like the Valkyrie-esque. Does have that 5 MP in jump as well, so you can move at 5 hexes in the air, which is great. It does dissipate 10 points of heat, just single heat sinks, standard fusion engine, all the basic equipment of its time. Armor's not bad, 6 tons, 96 pips. It covers 80.7% of the mech design. That's not bad. Of course, we are talking about a 35-tonner, so every pip does count, but I'll take it. Not too bad. In terms of the weapon loadout, now this thing, it's interesting. It's got a single large laser in the right arm, and then it has 4 SRM-2s spread across the torso and the left arm. Now, it does note in the lore that this thing was basically an Inferno boat. Tonight, we're going to be looking at it with just standard munitions. That's how Battlytics likes to chew the numbers up. But definitely keep in mind what this thing might do if it were loaded down with Infernos. Very good for things like anti-vehicle, anti-infantry, and even just harassing bigger, hotter mechs to just sort of push them over that threshold, potentially to a shutdown or something more catastrophic and delicious. But anyway, we're gonna look into the Firebee just by the numbers, by the standard ammo. So we'll start with the offensive benchmarks, get to the defensive, and see how it does on the efficiency chart. So guys, sit back, relax, dial in, and we will get this thing going. All right, so here we are on the offensive benchmark side. Some pretty interesting stuff here. The first thing that jumps out at me is the sheer amount of heat this mech could build up. I actually had to go double check it. It's 8 for the large laser. It's 2 per SRM-2. So when you are alpha striking and walking, you're building up 7 points of heat per turn. If you jump, God forbid, you could really spike the heat up pretty significantly with an alpha strike. So first and foremost, considering it's a light mech, considering it can build up so much heat, definitely not one I would recommend for beginners. That's my initial assessment here. But let's see what it can do. So on the damage charts, it's not blowing anything away. It does 56.8 points of damage in baseline. With a little bit of heat, you can get that up to 64.3 points of damage. That's average damage over 12 turns. So that's not bad. That's like a 13% gain. And we're all talking about small numbers here, so the percent is a little bit misleading, but it's still pretty decent overall. Now, in terms of lethality, the Firebee struggles against the Javelin. And again, the Javelin's only 5 tons lighter. It's moving. It's harder to hit. The Firebee does have to get within 9 hexes to really deliver its more lethal payload. It's taking a long time to kill this thing. 20.64 turns on average to kill that Javelin. That's more than I want to be playing Classic in a given night. So don't expect any kills with this thing. However, what I was surprised at was the critical hit number. Now, let's talk about that. When you have SRMs and things like that, you expect that shotgun effect, you expect a higher critical hit number. There's two things working against the Firebee in this case. Number one, it's a one-on-one, right? It's against the Javelin, and it's hard for it to even get through the exterior armor to get into that internal structure to begin with. So that's mitigating critical hits right off the bat. And then also the other thing I want to bring to your attention is that SRM2s really aren't firing that many missiles. Even 4 of them, you're only firing 8 missiles. So it's not that great. You still got to roll every time on the cluster table. It's a 50-50. So you're really only on average landing like 4 missiles. So it's really not the crit generator that it might appear to be. And that sort of takes me back to what I said a few minutes ago about really thinking about what this thing would be like with Infernos. I do think that's its sweet spot and its calling. But by the numbers, damage per hit's 3.2. It's only killing the Javelin 8.1% of the time. It's really not finding a lot of crits. So in order to use this thing effectively, like I would pair it up with, if it's in a light lance, right, with other light and medium mechs, I would pair it up with those mechs that can really deliver a lot of damage, a lot of damage. Things that have PPCs or ERPPCs, things along those lines, like a Hollander with that goofy Gauss rifle coming off of its chest, God bless it. So anything along those lines, you might find some synergy. But really, the Firebee is what the Firebee is. I think it would hold its own against something like a Wasp, a Stinger, a Locust, right? Those mechs don't have a ton of armor. You're going to be spraying damage all over it. You will get a good return on investment there. But against anything bigger, this thing just does not have the bite that it might appear to with the loadout. So let's move on to the defensive side. So the first thing I notice about the armor diagnostic is the fact that it is under-armored on the center torso, which is, of course, the most likely place to get shot, statistically speaking. Now, if I look at the actual numbers here, the CT has 11 pips. The side torsos have 10 pips. So that's not bad. But then each leg has 13 pips on it. I'm not really sure that distribution works for me. Like, I think I would peel at least 1 or 2 pips off each leg and move that to the CT. Additionally, the rear armor across all the sections has 11 pips. That doesn't seem subpar to me. I think that's right on point. I don't think it's over or under armored, so that seems pretty good. And then the arms as well, pretty solid. Now, the design thought might have been like, hey, we've got the laser, we've got SRMs in the side torsos, all of these things. You've got ammo in the side torso and the one in the left torso to be specific. So maybe the design choice was to armor those over the CT, but again, the legs, I would have taken those down a little bit. Now, speaking of legs, let's take a look at the mobility analysis here. 7.3% of the time it is taking a motive hit, and you can see that mobility really tank off from turn 1 all the way through to turn 12. So starting at a 3, which again, that's the target mod, right? You're moving 8 hexes. Assuming you're moving 8 hexes, you're going to get a 3. By the end, you're really only getting a 1.3, which means you've taken, a couple of leg hits, maybe you got a frozen hip, something along those lines. It is very likely to happen in this mech as compared to the average. In terms of survivability, we're at 31.6%. So it's not stupendous. It's not awful. I've seen a lot worse. We've seen a lot worse with lighter mechs. So it's not terrible, so to speak, but you'll see the CT deaths are through the roof. 53.2% of the time, it is in fact just a core out kill. In fact, that's more likely than it dying from an ammo explosion, which is bizarre to me. I'm looking at the layout now. In the left torso, you've got 2 slots occupied by jump jets, 2 by ammo, and 2 by other stuff. So basically, you've got a 33% chance of hitting ammo in the left torso, and still it's dying more to CT shots. So again, that sort of speaks to me like we got to up armor that CT if that's the way this thing is going. The other thing that I don't like about the armor is the head at 8 pips. I always think you should max out the head. It's just one of those things. I guess in this era, if you're taking a large laser to the head, 8 pips is enough to deal with it. But I'm always a fan of just maxing that out if I'm going to nitpick that armor. So overall, it's not terrible, especially as far as 35 tonners go. The damage wasn't really great. but it is only, again, 800 battle value. So will it give us the return on investment? Let's take a look at efficiency. All right, so here we are taking a look at the efficiency. The survey says 3.49. Is that good for a 35-ton mech, you may ask? I actually happen to have all of the mechs under 35 tons right here ranked by efficiency score, and it's above average. It's slightly above average. It's in the probably upper, it's like around the 60th percentile, so not bad at all. Efficiency can get as low as 0.2 for some mechs like the Wasp. The highest ones in this range, as you might imagine, Kit Fox, Wolfhound, Adder, Cougar, Firefox, like they're all clan mechs. There's in fact the Valkyrie QD is the highest inner sphere mech, and that's got an efficiency rating of 4.4. So if we took all the clan mechs out, 3.49 in this era is actually phenomenal for that battle value. What I'd be interested to take a look at, which I didn't, is if I actually didn't do it by tonnage, but instead did it by battle value, I'd have to look and see and rerun that. But regardless, 3.49, not that bad. Survival rate of 31.6 actually rivals some of the clan mechs. Now, the Valkyrie QA just slightly edging it out again at 32.64. And some of the QD is actually at 46.89. I lied about that. So there are some mechs that are pretty darn good here. And in fact, the Jenner JR7F is 74.57%. Fun fact, guys. I don't know if we've done a video on that one or if that one's just in the database. But regardless, there are some survivors out there. But 31.6 is pretty much, again, like probably upper quartile of ratings there. So overall, not bad. Would love to get more damage out of this thing. But I think it's just designed to be that Inferno boat. That's just what I keep seeing here by the numbers. Now, gunnery sensitivity, very, very low. You're not going to get much out of this. The problem is, again, it's missile heavy. So even hitting more often doesn't necessarily guarantee you more damage because you're totally at the coin flip mercy of that 2 missile cluster hit table column, which again, I think, I don't have it memorized, but I think 1 through 7 is 1, 8 through 12 is 2. It's basically 50-50. In terms of the effective damage by gunnery, so we do all of our analyses at gunnery 2. The BV for that mech would be 1131. That's used in the efficiency calculation. And again, your optimized damage there, which factors in your survivability and your optimized, so your effective damage, is 39.44 over 12 turns. So it's not great. It's like 3 points a turn, a little over that on average, if my math is correct. And you are losing a substantial amount of damage to survivability. 30% of that damage goes away. The number I like to see is closer to 10%. So from your optimized to your effective, it's a 30.6% change. And your total loss is actually 38.7, which you can see over there. So that is the Firebee in terms of the numbers. Let's talk about battlefield role, where I might use this thing, and again, just some final observations on the Firebee. So really, there are, 2 primary roles where I see this thing fitting in. The first one is Brawler. The second one is Cavalry. In either of these scenarios, I would say you have to put it, you have to load it down with Infernos or special munitions of some kind. And there's some other weird ones out there. But, really to me, loading this thing down with Infernos, running in, using your large laser to ding up some things, and then just lay off that laser, right? Because again, you've got all these heat problems when you try to do all damage with everything anyway. So you can't really even take full advantage of an Alpha Strike. Just lay off the laser and just dump the Infernos into it, right? Just focus on overheating the target. Let your lance mates take care of business. That's how I would use this mech. Now, you might argue like, hey, skirmisher, picket, like, pick it meaning like you're just going to swarm in and harass something like an archer at point blank range. Yeah, I mean, that works. That's fine. I'm thinking about that in terms of, I guess, more of like that brawler role. I think this mech is probably too valuable to play like that. Hey, look at me, I'm a flea, shoot me. I don't want to be shot in the Firebee. I do want to get close though, and I do want to deliver that Inferno payload. So we talked about the sort of the variability on the damage, the cluster hit table, and how dependent it is on these things. Your ACD cap on this thing isn't great. It's 67.1%. That means there's a lot left to chance. What you can do from an Alpha Strike perspective and what you might actually deliver is there's a big variation there, because again, you've got a hit with the SRMs and then you're 50-50 on the cluster table, which kind of stinks. And not only do you have to hit once, you got to hit 4 times, right? It's not like, oh, it's an SRM 8. Like, if I have a 5+ to hit, I'm very likely to hit, and I'm gonna land a bunch of missiles. You got to roll 4 times, so your likelihood to miss or hit, if it's a high target number, right? So that's sort of the boom of the bust there. So overall, do I love the Firebee? From a numbers perspective, I'm not in love with it. From a lore perspective, I think it's fantastic. From a design perspective, I think the new design is phenomenal. This is a mech I would absolutely field, and I would in fact field it with Infernos. Hands down, there is no other way, in my opinion, to field this mech. But I want to know what you think. Lay it on me. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you've used this mech before, and how you've used it. If you've used it with standard ammo, Infernos, what you prefer. And of course, I always love hearing about success stories. And by success stories, I mean either I fielded this mech and in the first turn it was somebody took off its head from 22 hexes away, or this mech had like one leg, one arm, and still managed to kill the enemy's commander with a opening salvo of, or the closing salvo of SRMs, whatever. I love it. You guys always do a great job in the comments. Keeps me entertained. I appreciate it. So don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what you think about the Firebee. That said, closing thoughts. Number 1, Aries Games and Minis proliferation cycle packs. They are for sale there. If they're not sold out, you can get them over at Aries. Great prices, great shipping. Very easy to do business with Derek. He's a really good dude. Number 2, don't forget to subscribe, like, and as I said, leave a comment. And if you want to get more involved in the channel, you can head on over to Patreon. All sorts of good stuff over there. We've got some very cool digital things going on, apps and whatnot, special features. We've got contests and challenges and all sorts of great stuff. So definitely want to check that out and get involved in the community over there. It's as little as $1 a day. Actually, not even that. $1 a week. Nope. It's $1 a month, guys. Think about that. It's $1 a month. It's a bargain. It's a bargain. I will take $1 a day, though, if you want to do that. That'd be fantastic. Helps us keep the lights on here at the studio. But that said, I'm done begging and I'm done marketing. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And, of course, stay tuned. Always great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. Have a great night.